multi-million-dollar fundraisers, the mega ARR milestone. You get the announcements, but you rarely get the truth. So we built what we couldn't find, a show that pulls the curtain all the way down and burns it. So you see the truth for as ugly and as bare as it gets. We didn't just want to talk about hot takes. We wanted to have our own, debate and argue over them live and unedited. We wanted to bring the best founders all around us and go beyond their pitch deck to see where their products break so that they and you can walk away better. All of this on your timeline, live, unedited, unfiltered, so that you can see the truth of the chain reactions happening all around you. See you. Hey, Aisha.
Hello.
I think we can't see your camera.
There you go.
There you are. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Chain Reactions, a show that breaks all the marketing around you. I'm your co-host Arnav, head of marketing here at Myosin, and Aisha.
I'm Aisha. I do a bunch of stuff all related to marketing, and I would love to break everything around me. So let's go.
I'm sure you do. Well, I want to get straight into the stories for this week, and obviously the biggest one being the Anthropic Fable announcement. I want to get your thoughts on this because honestly, when they announced Mythos, I was like, this looks like the best marketing campaign a AI company can run. And then slowly but steadily, some bits and pieces of it started to unravel. Have you gotten a chance to play around with it at all
Of,
or look at it?
of course, I did it the minute it was launched. I'm not gonna wait for that. I'm super AI
What
pilled.
what are
I
what are
don't.
your thoughts?
I don't think it was a marketing campaign at all. I truly believe that Mythos exists, and it's the here. It's just like a limited version of it, just to be more safe about certain stuff. But it's amazing, and you can really see the improvements from the previous model for sure. Did you try it?
What? Yeah, no, I did too. It was interesting. I was talking to Scott Brinker, who wrote the MarkTech law and used to be the VP of platform engagement at HubSpot. And I asked him the question. I was like, have you gotten to screw around with Fable at all? And obviously, it just came over yesterday. But his thoughts were quite similar to what they were in the past, as in there's still the strategic gap between what these models claim they can do and what they can actually do, and our ability to get the best out of it. I mean, I think back to Opus 4.8 wasn't like a while ago. It's interesting how soon they sort of bundled up the announcements together. But I feel like there's still this marketing narrative still attached to it. Like, hey, we're going to give you the best model available on planet Earth, but we're going to put a leash on it. But why put a leash on it? Like, is it truly so capable that it can break absolutely everything? Because I've been seeing memes all over the Twitter timeline about it.
It's difficult to know if we don't have access to it, but I don't think they need any marketing campaign, honestly. When they launch it, the posts have like 1 million views after a few minutes. And honestly, we are all like tracking the AI race and try to find new models. And Anthropic has like so many users that I don't really think they need marketing. Actually, they don't even have a lot of marketing. They don't have a big marketing team. They don't do ads. They don't do campaigns. All their communication is super simple. They even didn't do like a whole video for this. Like, it's not, as a marketer, I'm not seeing a lot of effort in that. Like, the video was cute, some animations about like the number 5, and that was it. I don't think so. Honestly, I really think it's a super powerful model and it's easy to notice the difference. And I don't think everything they're claiming about Mythos is not true, honestly. I mean, that
So
part of
you really think the doomsday claims that that Anthropic is making is actually true?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure like AI is a super, like, it's an attack vector and it's also an attack tool for sure. And also like that could explain many things we're seeing lately, like how many protocols were hacked the last time. And they were found like a lot of vulnerabilities that have been there for years, even like really big protocols with a lot of money to do audits and really good companies doing the audits with like top tier hackers. They didn't find it. So yeah, I'm quite sure is that. And I actually believe that that's possible, and we are not super far to seeing that.
I'm not gonna debate here because we have a debate segment scheduled for later. But I really think from a narrative perspective, they've definitely captured the market in a way that has never been seen before. Like, imagine 2023, we were saying, oh, OpenAI is absolutely fantastic at AI marketing, and look at the amount of just the market share and mind share that they had in terms of what people were using on a daily basis. And now I seldom see people saying, oh yeah, I use ChatGPT daily, even though Claude exists. Like, it's an interesting dichotomy to look at. But let's get to the next story, because I feel like that is also as equally interesting, and it almost seems like a theme for this week that we're talking about AI models so much. So WWDC, Apple's announcement of the Siri uphauls that they've introduced, and the fact that Gemini is behind it. I've been seeing a lot of chatter, especially before WWDC happened, that a lot of it is just, Apple was left behind and now they're catching up. What are your thoughts around that?
I think Apple is behind AI for sure. Also, like, I keep wondering why we don't have something like Siri or even Alexa or whatever you like with AI. Like, I would love to talk to Claude with a device. I'm actually thinking about building it myself because I don't know. Sometimes I'm cooking and I want to like store an idea or something or ask a question. I think I need it. And honestly, everyone can find me on this, but Gemini is the worst LLM model available right now. So yeah,
So is it a smart move, or is it like, oh my god, why did you do that?
Gemini is really, really bad. But it's okay because they have different targets. Also, about what we were talking before, is like we live on CT and AI CT, like I don't know how to call it ACT, but a lot of people doesn't use AI. Like normal people is not thinking about the last model of Anthropic. They're using ChatGPT in the not even paid version. So Gemini is also for another target. I think, like for example, I'm gonna offend people with this, but I don't care. But I think like grandmothers, aunts are Gemini's targets, and that's okay. That's okay. Gemini is really nice to create beautiful pictures that you can post on Facebook, but it's not the same capabilities of things that you can do with Cloud Code, for example.
Yeah. And I also like think about, well, Siri is nothing new also. For something as simple as making a phone call. I don't remember the last time I used Siri for it. I
I
don't
never
know.
use in my
Yeah.
life.
So like
Uh,
I'm thinking about, oh, photo editing, and you get daily feeds from XYZ applications. I see the value in it, and I do feel like the tech enthusiast in me absolutely adores the fact that they've actually finally done this. Because I bought the iPhone 16 Pro like 2 years ago with the promise of AI being built in it, and all of we remember the showcase that they did around it. Nothing came to be, and now we have an announcement 2 years later. Oh, we're finally actually doing it, but we're going to use Gemini for it, and you're most probably not going to use it. So, like, what's the point?
I think like I want to talk with an LLM model sometimes, not because I need to talk with it, but sometimes like I don't know, I'm using my hands for a different thing.
Hmm.
Like if I'm, I don't know, cooking, sometimes they're like, oh, how many minutes do I need to cook this pasta or whatever, a stupid question, or also saving something, some idea for later. Also, like I have an Apple Watch, and I would love to be able to talk with Cloud when I'm having a shower, which is the moment that I have the greatest ideas. So I would love to, like say like, oh, I'm thinking about tweeting this, and that's not possible, and I don't get why. Like it can be that difficult to do. So we need something like that. So if Siri is gonna start working in that way, then it can be good. But what are they promising? Like, it's Gemini behind that? But what are the features we're gonna see?
Yeah, and just like even looking at, I think Samsung did it way earlier, obviously. And if you look at, I'm curious to know what the internal numbers look like. How many people are using the AI features, even on a monthly basis, forget daily or weekly, which, from an engagement perspective, those are the metrics that they care about. But, how many people are actually using it? So it's definitely interesting to look at. And what about the announcement of Gemini 3.5, I believe? What are your thoughts around that?
Honestly,
Same,
what?
pretty much the same. But
Like,
because I think, right, like if there's anybody in this market who has the most amount of data, right, reliable, from a longer tail, from a retrospective perspective, Google has the most data on any compared to any company on planet Earth. Yet, when it comes to AI capabilities, why are they so far behind? I asked myself that question, and I want to be a Gemini Maxi because when they released what do you call the
Nano banana?
no, not Nano Banana, the deep research, right? They were the first one who like did it and did it properly, right? And then Notebook LLM, I absolutely loved using that. But then for everything else, it's like, yeah, it's not there yet. And I keep waiting for the moment where Google actually makes a, step ahead on that front.
Well, what are you mentioning is like basically you want to feel part of something, and that's how like there's people that
Yeah.
loves Android, there's people that loves iPhones, and even though someone tells you like, oh, but technically this Android camera is better than iPhone, you're not gonna switch. And also because
Mm.
as humans we like things that are familiar always. So if you get sick to one model, how it works, even if there is another one that is better, what works in a different way, you're not gonna like it. So I feel like if you're really into AI, you need to all the time keep switching models, and sometimes even use more than one, because there's like different ways at how they're built, that can be better for different stuff. Like for example, I'm a cloud groupie. I think that's clear, but I can recognize that ChatGPT is way better with image generation, so I use it for that. Um, but I think like what you're saying is exactly that. Like we not only consume brands, and that includes software, for what they are, what they're offering, but what the brand is transmitting. And Anthropic, I don't think they did a lot of work in the marketing part, but they did a lot of work in the ethos and how actually Claude performs and talks with you. And that's better for some people. And sometimes I prefer to use Codex for sometimes things, because like Codex has a completely different personality, if we can call it like
Mm.
that. So maybe you
Do
like
you, do
Gemini.
you like to use them like back to back? Like you get something done from Claude
Sometimes
and you
I
take it to
do.
Codex? Yeah.
Sometimes I do. If you go to Claude and say like, "Hey, Codex did this better," Claude is gonna start telling you like, "That's not right," explaining you why, and Codex is gonna be like, "Yes, Claude did it better. Let me fix it." So if you wanna try it, like tell Codex you're gonna unplug Codex, and it will get super worry and work pretty better. But Claude, for example, will tell you like, I don't care, like use the model that you want. So yeah, I think it's those are different that like are way more like, it's the same thing Android and iPhone. Like it's not about the technical capabilities, it's like the brand you're consuming. So you somehow want to love Gemini because maybe Google is something that's familiar for you.
I know you do quite a bit of copywriting, and you've built social agents as well. What what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel like what's the model that you keep going back to? Is it still Claude, or do you feel like, oh no, for certain things in certain contexts, maybe ChatGPT is slightly better than Claude on certain things?
Honestly, today, for example, I was doing something, and I had three outputs of copywriting, and I tried two different Models. I was like, actually four. Like I used Haiku, Opus, Fable, and the last one of Codex. I don't know the name. And the newest of Cloud was the best one. I mean, I wasn't surprised. And it's the same agent because I use the same repo. Like everything is the same. So yeah, I think Cloud is better, but this can change tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what everyone is cooking. Like when we started, ChatGPT was amazing, and I remember using Claude a few years ago, and I didn't like it. But also, I recognize that it's not that I didn't like it. I was so used to ChatGPT that I didn't want to
Mm.
switch. And at some point, everyone was telling like you need to switch, so I did it. And now I'm using both. And as I'm telling you, like for image generation, Claude right now, I don't know the new model because I haven't tried to design anything with it. But for like yesterday, ChatGPT was better, the web version, not Codex. Codex is not that good to generate
Mhm.
images, but Claude is better for everything else.
Yeah. And we keep, and I
What
keep
do
thinking
you
about,
use, by the way? Now I need to know so I can judge you as a person.
honestly, I feel like, I like the way ChatGPT manages personal things. Like, I don't know. And maybe I have some nostalgia of some kind. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that was the first model that we used, right? So I'm like, I think about how many, and by the way, not advice. You ideally shouldn't be doing this, but sometimes I think about a fight I had with somebody, or like a rant I want to do at somebody, and I go to GPT. I'm like, okay, here's my rant. Now neuter it down so that the person's not offended, or
Oh, I do
like it
that all
comes off.
the time.
Yeah,
But ChatGPT turns to tell you you're right more.
yeah, yeah.
I honestly, about Claude, I hate psychological advice that I didn't ask about that. That's also
Mm,
like my customization of Claude. Like, don't give me psychological advice if I didn't ask to. I think that's, if you read the Claude ethos, you're gonna find like why that is like that. I don't agree so much. but I don't know about ChatGPT. Like, there is a lot of people that went crazy talking with ChatGPT about personal stuff. I don't know
Mm,
if you remember a few like months ago, they switched to a new model, and the new model was a little bit more cold, and some people started like getting crazy, and they needed to put the old model back for people to try it. So
yeah.
be careful with that. You can be about to get AI psychotic.
Yeah, and that's a whole different rabbit hole to go down on, especially with a lot of the IPOs coming out for SpaceX, Anthropic, OpenAI. Genuine question to you, as you know, somebody who understands marketing, who understands the ad revenue business at least, right? Where do you think these companies go? Because I look at the announcement from ChatGPT about ads was in March of, I think, this year. Yeah, March of this year. And before this podcast, I was going through it. I was like, okay, so tell me, like, what exactly am I supposed to do with this information now as a marketer? Like, how much are we looking to spend on it? Are they going to be better at playing this game than somebody like a Gemini with AI search? Because I think, like, what's the business model that's backing it up? Yes, you have a lot of users. Yes, people are spending crazy amounts of money on tokens, but you're spending equally as much money on compute and managing those users' requirements. So, like, where does that go? Because I listened to Ed Zitron about his AI doomer takes, and I tend to agree with him quite a bit. What do you think?
You're asking me like what I think is the
Yeah, the
revenue.
ads, like the ad revenue, because I mean that's what these companies are talking about, right? Like, okay, yeah, we have tons of users, and we're going to convert them using the ad model. So going back to the Google playbook, but
I
I don't see how
mean,
they do it.
if you want to put ads, like we have nice roads in many countries because there is ads on it. And if you
Mm,
go to an airline right now, you're gonna see ads everywhere. Even in the plastic cup you're using, they're gonna sell that space for someone to put an ad on. So I think it's that, and also it's because like a lot of people is using the models in the free version. So
mm,
that's probably what exists. Uh, but honestly, I don't care what Anthropic is doing with their money. If they want to clone people with the revenue they get, and they will keep shipping those amazing tools to make my life better, it's not of my business. Like, I'm not tracking what the companies that I buy food from or clothes from are doing
yeah.
with their revenue, honestly. So
But if you see, let's say you go on Claude today or ChatGPT today, and you're using it, and it gives you three recommendations. One of it is paid. So I think about it both from a consumer's perspective and a business perspective. From a consumer's perspective, I mean, I'm skipping it the exact same way I was skipping the Google ads that used to come up on my search results as a consumer. As a business, that gives me top real estate on keywords, and that's amazing. With the LLMs, it feels like an invasion of some kind. Like I'm I'm using it, and it has a lot more information on me than maybe even Google did. And maybe I'm telling it things that I'm not saying me, but there are a lot of people who do that. That's where the AI psychosis comes from. So a lot of people are doing that. And I think about, if you put an ad model in that, isn't that like an invasion on just your user experience? Like, the maybe the connection that a lot of these models were able to make with people, just because they're free and you can talk to them, and they are, bias confirming bots, uh, with all the flaws that comes with. But it feels like an invasion of some kind. It's like I'm being betrayed in some way. And fair enough, from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And I would love to spend a lot of money on chat GPT ads, because the relevance is going to be much higher than like keyword search. But
no,
what
I
are your
don't
thoughts on?
I don't agree with you at all. First, because I started my career doing ads. Like I was a creative, so I will never be against ads because that will be being against my own career. And I think it's simple. Like if there is an ad on it, it's because you're using something for free or for a few like lower price than the one you need to get. So right now you can pay for YouTube, Spotify, like whatever you want to use it without ads. Cool. And then it's not true the information that Google has about you. Actually, you can go and check the information Google has about you, and they have all your emails. They have your, if they want, they can have your meetings, also your location. Like if you have it on your phone with your email, they know where you are all the time. So that's not like that. And of course, like everything you search online and what you use in your browser, like they have everything. So you're a little bit wrong there about the information they have. And then I love personalized ads. I many times I had those moments like, oh, Instagram is listening what I'm saying, and I found like solutions for that. So I'm pretty okay with that. And then if it's disclosed that it's an ad, then it's on you to follow that or not. And of course, like me as a marketer, sometimes I see something is a marketing trap and I still failing on it. But that's just life and the world we live in to make us consume a lot of stuff. So no, I think it's a normal path. I mean, if I can pay not to have the ads, great. But I think it's a normal path because like who's using Google right now? Like what do you
Mm.
Google? Like only, I don't know, a restaurant to see the Google reviews. But then every question I have, I don't Google it anymore. So I think it's completely normal for models and for businesses to want to advertise there. Also because it's super difficult to understand how to actually make the models recommend certain stuff, and that changes all the time. So I think it's
Mm.
fair.
Makes sense. Do you feel like Google has any kind of edge in the AI LLM ad business?
What do you mean?
With like look at the history, right? Google is the company that birthed this concept, in terms of like online ads and keyword based ads and so on and so forth. So when you look at that and you look at AI search or LLM search now for specific things you're looking for, do you feel like Google has any kind of edge given their history? Or do you feel like Anthropic and ChatGPT are going to eat their business?
No, it's a completely different stuff.
Mm.
But I think like sometimes we live in a bubble where everyone is talking about AI, but that's not the case for most of people. So
Mm.
both businesses are gonna still alive like that. And also Google now has a pretty good suite, like for many products. I don't think they need only Google for that. And Google will keep existing, I think, like forever, of course. It's a different thing. But LLMs are for different stuff, and the recommendations also like, I mean, it's on you to trust an LLM recommendation, and it's also like what humans do normally, right? Because it's like you can Google something and be happy with the first reply you get, and the first like, oh, this is the first page of Google, or you can go deep into the rabbit hole. So I think it's kind of the same when you're asking to a recommendation for a software or a product or something like that, and you
Yeah.
can be way more specific.
No, I think I understand your perspective on that because to my mind, I also think about just how it search is different now, right? Like it is not what it used to be because you're not looking at a string of words and putting them in a certain order in a certain way to get the kind of results that are relevant. But now it's more intuitive in nature. So definitely it's a new open field that probably didn't exist before. The other thing, going to our beloved platform that we love so much, talking about X and the major creator push. This is my question to you because I know you're a creator. I know you use X extensively and you have a great following there as well. What are your thoughts first as a creator, X stepping in, helping creators connect with brands um, in a more intuitive way than what the case was before? And then what is your perspective as a marketer for what kind of advantage do you see X having over something like an Instagram or TikTok or so on and so forth?
Uh, you
It's
mean
a
the
simple
platform?
question. Yeah, it's I know it's a simple question, but I'm curious to know, like from a creator perspective, from a consumer perspective, and then from a from a marketer's perspective, where does this announcement really fit in for you?
Um, I don't think right now, like, it's not fair to compare different platforms in that way. Like, I think each platform has the pros and cons. But I'm happy that Twitter, because I will never call it X, is doing something for creators. Because right now, like, creators' revenue, it used to be better. I made good money out of it. Right now, I mean, I don't know if it's good or it's bad, but it's not a lot. Like, I don't care. Of course, every time I get paid, I'm excited because it's like a surprise. You don't know how much you're gonna get, but that's the only thing that excites me, like the surprise. But I don't think like it's as easy as make money on Twitter than in other platforms. In many ways, also it's not as easy to grow. It's more difficult, but also it takes a little bit of effort in terms of like I don't know recording videos because for me like recording videos like I can do it but it's not something that I enjoy as much. Like I won't be
Hmm.
recording videos every day. Like maybe I will if I start being a TikToker, but the kind of videos I'm doing right now takes me a lot of time to create them. So I think it will be good for Twitter to help creators have like more brand deals and stuff like that. But also the brands that are on Twitter and the audience of Twitter is super particular. Like normal
Yeah.
people doesn't live on Twitter. So the brand deals that you can get are not as easy, you know, like it's not like I don't know, clothing brand is gonna pay me if I have a lot of followers on Twitter. Like can happen, but it's not something that is gonna happen every day, like happens to TikTok or Instagram creators, you know. So yeah, we'll need a
Is
little bit of
it
help.
is it going the pathway of where Twitter jobs ended up? Or do you feel like no, this is going to be a relative success?
I mean, Twitter is making everything for creators way more difficult right now. I'm not tweeting a lot. I don't feel
Yeah.
like tweeting because right now I know what I need to do, you know, because I've been doing social media for like so many years that I know the rules of the game and I know how to readjust. But I mean, I actually did it. I was like, oh, I didn't tweet for a few days because I was flying and I wasn't feeling like tweeting. And then I was like, oh, I need to reactivate my account and I hit like a 1.5 million banger. So I understand the game, but I don't want to play it because it's like you need to improve everything right now. Like I have an agent for like analyzing if the post is gonna do well for the algo, and that's not the reason why I want to be a creator. That's what I do for a living. Like that's what I do for my clients. I don't want to do that for myself. So I think Twitter is losing it a little bit, but well, I'm not loving any of the decisions that this Twitter, I don't know how to say, that Nikita is doing. I'm gonna say I don't like what Nikita is doing with Twitter. Um, but well, it's that era. We will see what happens later.
Yeah. No, I give them some credit, definitely for at least trying to do something, but it feels like every time they try to do something, it just ends
What
up.
are you talking about? This is not the Argentinian economy that is like, oh, someone is trying to do something. He's getting paid a lot of money, his job. How are you gonna say like, oh, he's doing something? He's getting paid probably a lot of money for that. No, I don't agree. Like he ruined everything. No.
Yeah, no, I have my own gripes with him, but I feel like they're they try to do something good and just it ends up not going the way that it probably should. Especially considering the kind of people that use Twitter though, right?
They don't
Like
listen to the users. That's the main problem.
exactly.
Like
I agree 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I also feel like there is the smartest people in the world, arguably, are on Twitter, at least from a tech perspective. I'll say that. Like they
yeah.
are on Twitter.
And the
And
most retarded ones too.
absolutely we cover the spectrum on Twitter. So I feel like there is quite a bit that you could be doing that you're probably not touching upon, which is yeah, I mean surprising maybe, but I don't really see that being a huge deal breaker in terms of like how you think about it. Like, okay, keep trying, let's see where it goes. So that's that. But
No, they have so much data, they can process it, they even have Grok. So it's all their fault. And
funny
is
that you mentioned that. Where do
Grok?
you think where do you think Grok's going?
I mean, I think the Grok feature on Twitter is pretty decent. Like, I like it.
Do you
I
use it
haven't used
often?
now just to mock someone when they ask something super stupid, and I don't want to say like go Google it. But I think it's pretty decent. Sometimes I'm surprised of how it understands a lot of context and slang and like Twitter lore. That's good. It can be better for sure. But I think it's in the right place. Like, it's not like too much. Like, it's just like it's something you can call if you need, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Grok is actually maybe it's underestimated and so stuff. I have never used it in my life for something like serious, uh, but I don't think it's that bad. It's better than Gemini for
Yeah.
sure.
And personally just use it for getting access to like tweets people are doing, or if I need it for some context, like I keep going back to it. And also like sometimes it can be unhinged if you want it to be, like if you really push
Yeah.
it. A lot of other models have stricter guardrails. Grok is a little bit more smoother with it, so that's there. Okay, final story that I want to touch upon before we get Blake on to talk about forward deployed marketing. I want to talk about the creator economy and essentially a stat, which is like micro influencers and nano influencers are going to project it to be claiming 45% of influencer spend by the end of 2026. So we've gone in the complete opposite direction in the past 5 years, where we started with the bigger influencers getting the biggest piece of the pie to now the smaller nicher nano influencers taking up most of the spend. What are your thoughts on this? Because I feel like the pendulum has swung in the right direction. I really feel like micro nano influencers are the most effective when it comes to converting the audience that trusts them. But then I also think about there is a logistical challenge with it. Like, okay, yes, I have 10,000 people following me, but and I have a lot of trust with them. But is that specifically going to be the most, let's say, highest ROI for the business that plans to work with them? That's one. And two is just a logistical problem of instead of managing 10, 15 influencers, now you're managing 1,500. And I'm sure there are tools to do that, but it's still a task, right? How do you ensure some kind
I
of quality control on top of it?
I don't think, honestly, the smaller influencers are getting the biggest cut. I don't know if you mean like in terms of how much they're making. The nano micro influencer strategy is super old. Uh, like, I can remember myself talking about this in 2018 or something like that. So I don't think that's super new, but it makes more sense. Like, I used to explain to my clients like this: if you have 100 friends, you're not going to be as close to everyone because you don't have the time or the capabilities to be super close friends with 100 people. If you have 10, and maybe you're going to be more able to influence them. That's it. So having a small influencers and also UGC content creators, because it sounds or it looks sometimes more natural. About managing them, I don't think that's a problem. Also, like, they probably split that into agencies or stuff like that, and of course there is a lot of tools to track that. And I mean, it depends on the capacity you have, so the quality control depends on that. And I don't know, you asked me two questions, but I only remember one.
Yeah, no. So as a marketer, let's say you have 100K to spend on a product launch. How much of it are you going to spend on micro nano influencers really?
That depends on the brand. Because if I'm working for, I don't know, the new Balenciaga launch, I'm not gonna hire micro influencers. So it truly depends on the brand and the goal and if what they want. Do they want awareness? Do they want like to position the brand? Do they want a specific niche? Do they want followers? Do they want conversions? Like, what do they want? So I think it truly depends on that. And also, when you're working for a brand, like there is some brands like you don't need, I don't know, like how many shitty apps are on TikTok, and there is a bunch of influencers or UGC creators, because there are no influencers promoting that. That's fine. But if you're working for, I don't know, Adidas, Coca-Cola, like you need someone that will be like actually matches with the brand. So I think it truly depends on what you're doing. Sometimes, actually, this is a study that YouTube did many years ago. They discovered that, and this is on YouTube, of course, as a research, that when you hire a familiar face, like someone very super famous, that works better than many ads. So honestly, if I have that budget and I need to run a commercial, I will probably hire someone that is like super loved by people rather than maybe a house and influencers. So it truly depends on the goal. But it's not true that famous people and big influencers don't move numbers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree on certain elements of it, but I also feel like the stats talk about like how TikTok Shop is taking over US e-commerce at the moment. Like there's a
But
huge
that's not.
surge of,
But
sorry,
that's
you
not
were saying.
also, that's TikTok Shop is not only related to influencers. It's
Hmm.
more with them scrolling, how TikTok also the algorithm works that make you want to buy stuff, the dopamine hits that you have inside the app. Of course, it's related to influencers, but also that started with Amazon lists a while ago in Instagram or even TikTok. So I think that TikTok markets, it's not only related to influencers. And I can guarantee you that like hiring a super well-known influencer with a lot of followers and a good community, it's not only having a lot of followers, you can get out of stock of the product you're selling in hours. And
Hmm.
that's different than having maybe a lot of micro influencers. It truly depends on the brand and the business they're doing.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I think like when comparing to something like paid ads, especially now, or let's say comparing the spend on any other channel and spend on creator channels where you're working with a larger variety and volume of influencers, I do feel like there is some truth to the fact that yes, they are probably going to have more affinity to their audience than somebody with 10 million followers, right? Like, wouldn't you think, like, if you were comparing, let's say, five influencers with 50K followers compared to somebody with 10 million followers, in terms of the ratio of how many people directly resonate or trust implicitly the influencer that they're talking to compared to the 50K one and the 10 million one, who would have more affinity? Like, isn't it logical to think that the 50K one would have? Like, I'm thinking about it from the business perspective, like, because obviously the numbers is suggesting businesses are spending a ton of money on micro influencers, and they want to spend more. But then I'm thinking about what business logic are they putting behind it? If you think that that's really not the case, then you probably should go for larger influencers.
I don't think you should go for larger influencers. I think it depends on your strategy. It's not like one
Hmm.
thing fits all. It really depends. And let me give you a normal example of normal life. Uh, there is certain businesses, like if you have supermarkets, probably you will need a lot of small supermarkets around different areas. But if you have Louis Vuitton and you put a lot of small stores everywhere, that's not gonna fix. Like that's not good for your market. You need to be in the best part of the city that you can. So it's the same. Like it depends on the brand and what's their goals. If they want to have like the attention span in different and small places, and also like the reason why micro influencers work is because normally for the amount of followers that they have a higher ratio of engagement. But that's also another metric that we are not considering here. Like it's not fair to compare. Like okay, this is a I don't know, 100K influencer, this is a 5K influencer, who's gonna make it better for this brand. Is like, okay, tell me their conversion rate in different stuff as well, because like they're not gonna convert the same for different products. So I think those are two strategies that will keep existing. And I think the most like way to think about it is that is like thinking if there are stores or ways you will advertise in traditional marketing. And also I think like brands now are spending more in influencers because they are spending less in TV commercials, for example, and doing a TV
Hmm. Interesting.
super expensive. So if you're like, okay, I'm not gonna do a TV commercial and I will do a smaller ad on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, and then I will pay influencers, that's way cheaper. So they have more budget to use on that.
Yeah,
Like who
I think the
watches
TV. Yeah, the TV commercial aspect is probably the most interesting one on that front. Well, I think we've gone for quite a while. Let's get our first guest for today. That is Blake, who's the co-founder of Myosin, to talk about forward deployed marketing. Blake, thank
Hello,
you for being on the
hello.
show today. How are you
Thanks for
doing?
having me. Doing great. It's so fun. Like I love this new format. Really excited, and I've been listening in this whole episode, and it's been great to see the dialogue and the bands. And I think I'm very excited for the future of the show. And so it's good to be back this time as a guest. And yeah, I'll be back in different forms. So yeah,
Yeah,
this will be fun. Yeah,
we have big shoes to fill for sure.
yeah.
Taking over for you. But let's talk about forward deployed marketing and this whole concept that I really feel
Mhm.
like Myosin is one of the very few organizations in the world that are really talking about it and thinking
Yeah.
about it very deeply. So, like for the audience, explain to them like what is forward deployed marketing? How do you perceive it? How does it work?
Yeah, so just some like backstory here, right? Like I think Myosin, we've been around for 4 years. The original idea was building the ultimate marketing network. We're finding amazing marketers and talented people like yourself, Aisha, and Polina, who will be on the next one probably. And we're all rotating. It's a fun format and a fun network. And for the past 4 years, we've been building and working with all types of clients, deploying marketing solutions. But what's been really interesting is I think, at least internally, and a shout out to our member Salo, I remember this was like 22, 23. This is like GPT-3 before ChatGPT even came out. And I remember we were still on Discord and he came to us and said, like, Blake, I want to build this Discord bot and it's going to be powered by GPT-3, blah, blah, blah. And then ChatGPT came out and we're like, okay, maybe not. Right. And then we tried building other things and it was exciting, but honestly, like AI was a bit too expensive and slow for what we were envisioning at the time. Obviously, in the past couple of years, AI has really accelerated to the point where it's become, as they say, exponentially growing. And all of us here, we're all deploying it, using it in our marketing stack. And as we've all gotten more proficient and the technology's gotten easier to use, it's been very clear that ourselves, our clients, and every single company and industry around the world is going to have to begin adopting this technology. And so this is actually a shout out to Ollie, who's one of our members. He had this brilliant idea last year where we wanted to, for those who may not be aware, you may see this terminology floating around on LinkedIn, X, maybe on your newsletter, whatever it is. But the concept of a forward deployed engineer actually came from Palantir, where they would actually insert engineers into different companies and help them understand, well, what exactly is your tech stack, right? And how can they come in, help fix those things and deploy their own technology? And so we've been talking about forward deployed marketing since last year. And I think only now are we really starting to come out of the woodwork and push this really hard. But we've been kind of in the background building out all types of different marketing solutions where a forward deployed marketer is very similar to a forward deployed engineer. But the difference is now we're going into different companies. Some are crypto companies, which is historically where we've been working for the past couple of years, but now all types of companies because AI is impacting everyone. So everything from robotics companies, ed tech companies, IT services, the list goes on, and helping understand what is your marketing stack, how does it work, and how can we build custom AI workflows that at first you're going to need us to come in and help build out these workflows and productized services, but over time the goal is always How do we hand it off so you and your team can really take it, run with it, and keep iterating on it? And we kind of start to step back. We help maintain in the background. We productize, we scale. But we think that's the future, right? Because at the end of the day, like we've had a lot of conversations around this. I think our take is AI is only getting better, but fundamentally, who knows when maybe we'll hit AGI in the next couple of years. We'll see. But even then, I think the whole point is companies still need people. I think you're actually starting to see this in the news. I think a lot of the news lately, right, is all these companies were laying all their people off because they're like, we're going to replace everyone with AI. And they're like, wait, the token costs are so high. Like, wait, maybe it's actually cheaper to have humans, and maybe the AI isn't as capable as you think it is. So I think it's just like with any new technology, there's this Gartner's hype cycle, right? Like everyone thinks it's going to change the world, and it eventually will. But now we're realizing, like, okay, it's not as smart as we think it is. And I think that's where people like us come in. We have this amazing roster of talent and people who are in the trenches building these solutions. We just became Claude certified partners, and that's underway. Aisha's part of that program. Shout out to Aisha and Sala and a bunch of others. And we're just excited to help build out and help companies. There's a lot of companies out there that I think, we've talked to them, right? I can't name any names, but you talk to all types of enterprise and companies, and it's very clear that, the CEO is like, we need to adopt AI. What does that mean? Most of the time, they're just buying a giant Claude subscription, and then no one on their team really knows how to use it. Maybe they're kind of using it, but they're not actually changing the marketing stack. They're not actually thinking more thoughtfully because, frankly, it's just a lot of work, right? So this is why sometimes you need outside parties to come in and give a fresh set of eyes and help figure that out. So that's what we've been doing. That's what we're excited to keep doing. And that's hopefully that helps clarify what forward deployed marketing is. And it's going to be a big part of Myosin moving forward.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. One thing I'm curious about, because obviously sounds great on the face of it. I'm speaking for the skeptical founders out there who might be thinking, okay, so you're an AI agency with a marketing wrapper on top of it. Like, how do you, for as absurd as that sounds, what do you say to somebody like that? Because a lot of businesses, one, don't understand the value of AI. Most definitely don't understand the value of a forward deployed marketer. And three, they're thinking, oh, actually, I read this news on Twitter, there is something called a AI CMO now, so I don't really need a head of marketing anymore. So there are those people, and they do definitely think like that. So what do you tell them? How do you talk to them?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think number one, you can't convince someone who necessarily has a really strong point of view. But I think more often than not, I'll tell you this, is like there's a lot of people, just like anything else, right? There's a lot of quote unquote AI CMOs and products out there. But number one, the tooling is getting better. But here's the thing, I've talked to, I have a friend or two, they got laid off because the founder was like, we're going to replace the entire marketing team with AI. It's like, good luck. I've seen a bunch of those companies. And guess what? You're going to replace all your marketers with one tool, a couple tools. But guess what? Somebody still has to run that tool. Somebody has to maintain that tool, right? And so I think the challenge here is this is, it's not that new, but I think for some people it's a newer term, which is you always still will want a human in the loop. If not just for you want someone to manage the agents, you're going to need accountability or, pardon my French, but you need a neck to choke, right? You still need someone who you can yell at or say, why aren't you doing this? Or how are you managing the whole marketing team, et cetera. And so that's where it's important. I think the difference between what we're doing in a traditional engagement is, we're traditionally, I think any agency or, a agency style model, right? Because by the way, Myosin was invented to disrupt the agency model because, for us, pretty much nobody's really on a full-time employee. We're the most agile marketing network where we're configuring specific SWAT teams for your marketing needs. But I think at least in the FDM side, the way we're thinking about it now is how are we coming in and being as efficient as possible, kind of like your SWAT team that's coming in, understanding your stack, deploying these custom marketing flows. And we want to come in and out within anywhere between 1 to 4 months, depending on how complex your stuff is. Because I'll be honest, enterprise takes longer than a small startup. We're building these workflows, and eventually we should hand it off to either, if you still have your marketing team or a CMO, then great. If you want to really downsize your team, that's also possible. It's really up to you. And then if you want us to just help maintain that, we can do that as well. So it's a very flexible structure. It just depends on, what are the goals of the client? What are they looking for? How do they want to configure their team? And the thing to understand here is like the ROI in the long term is significant, right? Because what we're really trying to do is think about how do you make your marketing stack more efficient, right? And that's what we tell all our people too, is you can either fight this technology or you can adopt it. And just like, I think the best analogy is like if you were a graphic designer or an illustrator in the, let's say 90s, right? And when, Illustrator or Photoshop, the whole Adobe Creative Cloud came out, you said, no, I don't want to do this. I only want to do hand crafted. Good luck, right? Like it's very hard. So I think as marketers, we need to learn how to adopt these technologies and be significantly more efficient. There's so many organizations that aren't even close to that. So our goal is to come in and help usher in companies to the next generation, and how they want to configure their teams is up to them. But the ROI is very obvious because it's not as simple as here's a bunch of tools. By the way, like one client we're about to work with right now, they were paying a lot for these tools. None of it worked because we talked to them. We're like, well, you just bought like this, AI SDR, sales development representative, for those who may not be aware, basically a salesperson. But you're like, your salesperson, you don't have any content against it. You don't have any. So I guess the point is like, unless you're an actual marketer in the trenches, it's hard to understand the complexities that come with this and how it all ties together. And that's where we come in. We're that transition point between being fully analog and fully agentified. There will always be something in between. And I think we're helping make that transition for people. And the ROI is significant for what you're paying up front. Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot of information, right?
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, like, how do you see marketers working in the future? Like, because I'm having this conversation with very few friends. And of course, there is friends like, yeah, I'm using AI. I'm using AI. And what they mean with it, using AI, it's like they're just using Claude and they're interacting with it, and sometimes grabbing some stuff from the internet, which is not the same that what I'm doing right now, for example, that is actually building tools for every specific thing that I need to do for a client. So I do think that many marketers that I know are not going to have that work anymore, because they will probably need to like they were replicating the same playbooks over and over, and now I think creativity has a more important place in that. But do you think like marketers will actually end up high at like managing a lot of agents? Do you see that as the future? Like we're gonna be sit there and
I think 100%. I think just like anything else, like as I said earlier, it's like you either adopt it or you get left behind. And I think fundamentally, and by the way, I don't know everything, right? But all I can tell you is that from what I've seen, that is where we're headed. Is number one, I don't think. Here's my perspective. I've said this many times within Myosin, at least, but I'm excited to say this to the world. Is like really what we're seeing is like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. Everyone's in a race to the bottom to create better engines, right? Everyone's battling to be, how do I build a faster, cheaper, more efficient model? Right now, we're in this kind of like VC subsidized era where, the real token cost is actually being subsidized by investors. At the end of the day, like Myosin, we're not trying to build that. We're not trying to build better engines. We're not trying to raise billions of dollars. Really, the question is there's so much commercial opportunity. Yeah, I know, right? Unfortunately not. Yeah. But what I'm more excited about is how do we take those engines and build amazing cars, right? Because, whatever we build, I think the next guest, Matt, who's part of our team, he'll talk about HiveMinds, but fundamentally what we're trying to build is better cars where we can swap out those engines all day. That's literally what we do. If the new Claude model that came out, great. Codex 5.5 or like ChatGPT 5.5 or whatever, right? It's always an arms race. Who knows? We do like Claude a lot, I will say. But whatever the model is, it doesn't matter because, I think what we've seen is the app layer still matters. Most people, the clients that we work with, again, they bought the Claude subscription. Their people are very confused. Most people, like, of course, the technical people, the people in the AI bubble who are like on the edges, we're all using Claude Code. I'll be honest, I don't think most senior marketers are going to be doing that. So how do we abstract that away? How do we simplify it? People just want outcomes. They don't want to be just given a tool. They'd rather just hire someone else to do the tool or build the workflow that is more and more agentified. So I think as marketers, the future is we need to be thinking about how are we building the application layer? How are we simplifying this? And how are we building specialized tools that focus on, whether it's marketing, whether it's, accounting. By the way, we're building something related to that. But like, whatever the specific niche is, we are going to have specialized applications that, in my mind, just on the back end will be, interchangeable with all these different LLMs and models. But that's not the battle we're playing. And I think most people won't be playing that game. It's about how do you build a sports car for the person who wants to go really fast, or you building the off-roader for the person who wants to go and just get rough and rowdy with it wherever they're going, everyone has different needs. So building customized applications and workflows is very much where it's headed. And that's where, if you're a marketer, I would challenge you to think about, how do you build your agentic swarm or your workflows? Because that's how you're going to win and adapt in this new future. Yeah.
But what about slop though, Blake? Like, how do we ensure that businesses that are anti-AI, or just somebody that's comparing output to output, and they're thinking, well, I asked, Claude to write me a blog yesterday, and it was completely horrible. And then Blake comes in with his SEM team, and he's like,
that's a skill issue. If it's not working for you, then hire the person that knows how to manage it. It's not the technology.
Exactly. So like that's the contention, right? Like for a business that thinks like that, and we understand. I mean, slop can be, it can creep in, right? Even for the most optimized system. So how do we avoid that?
Are you talking
about again, that's
in writing?
Yeah.
Well, I may have a solution.
That's right. And our team's thinking about that, right? Because here's the thing, like, again, a tool is a tool. It's only as good as the people who use it. A saying that I learned when I was younger, and I always say is like, it's the poor craftsman who blames his tools, right? So how are you using AI to generate quality content? Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think there's a lot of people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're just generating a shit ton of stuff. I can't solve that, right? But what we can do as Myosin at FDM and with Aisha and a bunch of our members, right, is thinking about how are we understanding the voice, the tone of voice, the ICP, the UVP or UC, like the USP, right? Like, what are our unique selling propositions, the tone of voice, brand? And the key here, and actually this is like a new term that, I don't know, it's not that new, I guess, but it seems pretty new, at least in AI, is like, now it's not even prompt engineering, it's loop engineering, right? So it's a similar thing of, as we're thinking about generating content, and we're actually doing this with one or two clients already, is how are we building content engines that each time we iterate and get feedback, we continue to refine and hone that messaging. So in theory, the main KPI is actually less edits, less revisions. Of course, there will always be human edits, and that is why marketers still need to exist. We still need a human in the loop, an editor, somebody who really understands content, who can talk to the client or the CMO or the CEO, right, and make sure we're constantly fine-tuning this. But the whole point is, what used to take maybe 3-4 people can now be done with one person and an agentic swarm, right? It's the simple reality of this is what technology is. So it's kind of like, again, adopt or die.
I honestly think that people that believes that AI can sound like a human or AI's love is impossible to battle, it's completely wrong. That's 100% a skill issue. And it's not actually understanding what is happening. And I can guarantee you that I can replicate someone's voice. And we are forgetting about something that is like before AI existed, the LinkedIn post is still being horrible and everyone was using the same format. So if someone doesn't have taste and needs to replicate what everyone is doing or thinking that this format makes me feel safe and it's going to sound good on LinkedIn, that's not an AI problem. That's a human issue. If you don't have taste, if you don't have criteria, if you don't want to spend in a marketer to help you, that's going to happen always. So now we have AI's love, but before, I don't know, was like boomers using Facebook and it was the same result.
Well, everyone's just copying and pasting the same like LinkedIn format, right? It's not even that different. It was just a human slop, I guess. Now AI, unfortunately, will proliferate it, but now it's on us to be like, if anything, in my opinion, in a world where we have infinite slop, that's where cream will rise to the top. So the better we are at actually producing quality content and refining the models, then hopefully the results should speak for themselves. And that at the end is the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, and also because like it's like if you ask someone that doesn't read a lot to write something, the results probably going to be horrible. So if someone writes more and reads more, the results is better. So people that is posting AI slop, they're posting AI slop without knowing it. Like they don't see that's AI slop. And for the rest of us, it's so obvious. But that's because they don't have criteria. They don't know what they're doing. And AI slop sounds good for some people, because it's like, oh, this is how a marketer should write, like everything is perfect and it has some jokes and some punchy lines. But the rest of us are using AI all the time. We're like, oh my God, you're using Gemini again? But that's the human part of it and the professional part of it.
Exactly. That's how it goes.
Makes sense. Blake, this was fun for sure.
Yeah.
And I think
always.
We got to a lot of contentions to them, so I'm glad that people who might be naturally skeptical got a good understanding of what we're really doing here, why it's unique. Thanks for being on the show, man. See you soon.
Yeah, always. Thanks for having me, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. And to continue the series, let me now call the mad scientist behind HiveMind, which is the internal AI tool that Myosin has built. So Matt, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Arnav? How you doing?
Doing good, man.
You're
Matt always comes with this like energy. I don't know what is it about him, but
I'm
he
excited
comes in the room and he lights it up.
I'm excited to be a part of the beta, the pilot run here. You're doing a
we're doing the pilot episode. So
I actually was on the show 4 years ago, back when before I was a member of Myosin or a contributor when we were just friends at the time, and Blake was hosting. And you had big shoes to fill, but you're crushing it so far. You're like, it's like when Aaron Rodgers succeeded Brett Favre. We got a good lineage going on.
So I call you the mad scientist behind HiveMind, but like just for somebody who's trying to understand what HiveMind is, give us like the 60-second version for anybody, crypto AI non-native, just a ELI 5 version of it. What is it all about?
Got you. So I guess in short, HiveMind is an AI marketing strategist that's trained by actual human being marketing strategists and specialists across Myosin's network, right? So we created this thing essentially because, as Blake mentioned, we've been pretty deep in this AI shtick for a while. And what we realized pretty quickly is that our favorite LLMs like Claude, Grok, GPT, whatever, regardless, are amazing at a lot of things. But one thing that they are not amazing at all is brand strategy, right? And anyone who's ever tried to do one of those like copy this prompt and you'll never have to hire a strategist again, attest to the fact that like even those prompts, like you just get mush, right? Generic, very confident mush, right? And The reason for that, our kind of hypothesis, there's a couple of things, but one of them is that, when you're asking a general purpose LLM to create brand strategy for you, you're asking the most agreeable mind on the planet to think like a contrarian, right? To think like a strategist. And no one had really, it was really a systems design issue at its core. And so we wanted to build basically how do we take this, the idea was sort of, how do we take strategy and turn it into a protocol? The protocol of strategy had only really lived in the minds and the guts of its practitioners really for decades, right? And so how do you basically replicate that process? The way that we use frameworks, the way that we think through mental models, the approach to pulling cultural heuristics into the equation to develop real, meaningful brand strategy. So in short, basically, when you ask HiveMind, to help you put together your, create your brand positioning or whatnot, right? It will, it'll scour the market, find the tensions in the market, right? It'll pattern match across adjacent categories that, for things that finding connections that might not be obvious to human or to your LLM, right? It'll pressure test the framing, and it'll deliver you strategy in a way that like a high paid strategist actually would. And it took a long time for us to develop this. It wasn't, like some magic prompt. It was basically because of the thinking patterns that we were able to extract from actual strategists and creators, people who have real lived wisdom and kind of earned wisdom experiences, and kind of training our AI to operate and think through problems like a strategist would.
Makes sense. Aisha, what do you got? What's on your mind about HiveMind?
The endless possibilities about everything we can do with it, of course. But I'm really interested in like talking a little bit about how we're using it internally, and what do you think is like the next features that it needs to have to be actually different for people that doesn't want to move, for example, from Claude or ChatGPT, or for example, Arnab that is still using Gemini.
Right. Hey, I like Gemini. Gemini's I use it occasionally. I won't hate too hard on Gemini. I am a Claude guy too, but sorry, we were talking about something. What are we using it for? So we're using it for a couple different things, right? So first of all, we now route all of our agency briefs and proposals through HiveMind, right? So that does two things. First of all, it essentially, what HiveMind has become to our agency is this universal kind of like intelligence layer that takes the entire network's insights and wisdom and basically provides it to the network, right? So we have this kind of very kumbaya culture here at Myosin where everyone contributes like their special sauce, and everyone basically gets access to each other's sort of special sauce and secrets and thinking patterns and whatnot. And ultimately, with all of the ambitions that we all have individually, it kind of works out and motivates everyone to be a part of it. And so, so one thing that it does is it gives everyone who creates these proposals access to HiveMind's firepower. But separately, as we run these proposals and do our projects through HiveMind, which we've done a number of times, it actually feeds that data back into HiveMind and helps make it smarter as well, right? So because we have a network, we're not just bolting this network into an AI. Like we have an existing network that we basically can feed this product into. It's allowed us to basically have a consistent flow of updated knowledge and insights and things like that to grow the product. Secondly, the other thing that we're using it for, which I've enjoyed a lot personally, is using the API essentially to build really powerful marketing tools for things like forward deployed marketing projects on top of HiveMind, right? So we have an API for HiveMind. It's actually the thing that I use the most. I tend to use HiveMind the most in my Claude workflows. And we've seen a number of really cool products being built and sold to our clients and otherwise through the API. So for example, I actually built this product that with a couple of members in Myosin, especially shout out to our creative director, Dai, that uses HiveMind to basically interrogate you to understand what your brand identity should be, create your like verbal and visual identity, and then deliver it to you instead of in PDF form in like a markdown. It's like a zip file full of markdown. So you can basically throw that into your Claude, and now it can write posts for you, understanding like your positioning and your core messaging, your brand voice, what your your style guide is and whatnot. But it's all powered by HiveMind. So those are kind of the two use cases that we have for it. In terms of like what we want to do moving forward, there's a number of different things we're excited about. I mean, in the very short term, we're about to release a Teams edition because a lot of people who use our product and who we want to seed this thing out to initially are going to be boutique agency owners and marketing specialists that are in-house at a brand. And obviously they want to work collaboratively with their team. But I can't talk too much about this. We have a really interesting update to the way we are structuring our knowledge using this kind of new emerging Obsidian Vault and Claude Code kind of trend that's been arriving to the AI world. We think that the kind of vault structure allows for pretty revolutionary things that you could do in terms of training an AI to think like an even more dynamic strategist, finding kind of patterns, matching patterns that they wouldn't otherwise have found, and kind of having really, really interesting and powerful memory that you can kind of build and compound on.
Yeah.
We actually have an article about that on our feed. So if someone is interested, there's some information.
Shameless plug.
No, we can be as shameless as we want. It's our show. And you should also go follow us on X, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn to stay up to date with all of the happenings with HiveMind or with forward deployed marketing.
We have YouTube as well.
We're already on YouTube, so you're probably watching it there. But if you're watching it on X, go follow us on YouTube. But what I wanted to ask you, Matt, is I think it's so interesting that even though HiveMind was conceived quite a while ago, with all of these token and API costs now, there's suddenly this new discussion around, we actually want smaller LLMs and we want smaller models that are really good at doing a specific thing and execute on a specific case. So when it comes to HiveMind itself, do you look at it as like a smaller LLM version of the larger models out there, SLM basically? That's one. And the other thing is, like, how do you stop it from going to the median, which a lot of models are, especially larger ones, are notorious for doing, right? They'll go to the median, they'll give you an average answer. How do you stop HiveMind from doing that?
Right. Those are two great questions. So first of all, just making sure that I hope I'm interpreting the question correctly, but I think that, the implication in the question, and that we would get in the early days when people knew a little bit less about AI, is that not owning the model itself makes you kind of fragile, right? And as Blake kind of alluded to, I think it's actually the opposite, right? The fragile move is actually kind of trying to fine tune your own model. I've advised for companies that have done this and went out of business because they made this mistake, right? You kind of fine tune your own model, you sink a fortune into developing it and teaching it and all that stuff. And then the frontier jumps and now you're maintaining something that's stale and kind of outdated and everyone else is like 6 months ahead of you, right? So we didn't make that bet, right? And we, as Blake kind of alluded to perfectly, I think, like we aren't interested in kind of building and owning the engine, right? And that's on purpose. Like we are more interested in owning the driver, right? The product for HiveMind that is really that where the value is in the judgment, right? The value is in the frameworks, the proprietary frameworks, really, and like the playbooks and the mental models and like these lived experiences of our collective experts, right? The knowledge of like when to apply each of those things that I just mentioned and how to apply them and in what order, right? We call that like our interpretive layer, actually. So we own that. We own the thinking patterns that live inside of the brains of our collective network, the kind of operator wisdom. And so whenever the model jumps, the people who should be nervous are the ones who did all the fine tuning and the ones who like who built their own model, right? For us, we just kind of inherit the gain. And like you said, we're hyper focused on kind of one thing and one thing only. And I think which is strategy, right? How do we own this and be hyper focused on developing the best process for creating strategy in the AI era, for extracting knowledge and wisdom. And that's kind of the area that we want to own. And I agree with you. I think that's sort of, at this point, there's just unprecedented money and resources being sunk into the enormous titans. And like companies that are going to succeed are going to be the ones that already have enormous expertise in the area that they're going after, and B, really build like design systems, customer experience, and ultimately just like a product roadmap that is hyper focused on that niche. And so for us, that niche is marketing strategy. So I guess to your second question about consensus, or about like the median, right? So I think that there's a big difference between like a broad consensus and also a curated consensus, right? So most AI kind of pulls from a wide consensus of people who have kind of minimal creds, right? Maybe they haven't really shipped that much from, blog posts and things like that. And I think honestly that in the brand strategy world is worth very little, right? Because in brand strategy, ultimately, like you need to take a position and you need to basically like place a bet. Brand strategy is also a lot of times about forecasting, the future, right? And finding something that seems obvious in retrospect, right? And so, and doing that requires placing a bet and placing smart bets, right? And so we kind of placed our bet on creating this sort of narrow consensus, right? This consensus of like people who've actually done the work. We think that's worth a lot, right? The internet kind of gives you the first one for free, and we spent the last year building the second one, right? And also building that system to continuously extract those insights as the market changes, right? And so we have a very selective process for like auditing who gets added to our knowledge library, not because we're trying to be cool and exclusive, but because we want to make sure, or because we need everyone to agree, but we want to make sure that everyone who's in there is worth listening to, right? And so what's kind of cool about the way that we structured it is it's not just like static knowledge, where it's like two people have different opinions and then it's like, whose opinion do we go for? The knowledge, basically, for the most part, what we're trying to pull are what we call the strategic principles, right? So I have a case study, for example, that's in there. I like to use this example a lot for this particular point. I have a case study in there where I had this award-winning campaign that I did for Absolute in the metaverse, right? And now it's not like many metaverse campaigns happen these days, right? But what we can pull from that campaign is like, what was the strategic principle? And a lot of what we can pull were these like very universal principles about like, how do you help a brand enter a new space that they have no cultural equity in and not seem like a tourist, right? And so understanding that principle, and then also understanding the trigger conditions, meaning like, when is this piece important, and the breaking conditions, like when does this piece, irrelevant. That kind of helps us understand which of the knowledge files to prioritize, and so that we basically go for the smarter decision and the more relevant knowledge rather than just kind of like a mush of all the consensus.
Makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of brainy talk. But I think we finally got to the bottom of HiveMind, which I feel like is one of its kind, Like, how many agencies do you know? Or how many even marketing-centric companies do you know that have attempted to do something like this? And it's like, it has a completely different perspective towards, pun intended, using the HiveMind in the proper implementation for different case studies. So this is quite interesting, Matt. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much for being on the show and breaking HiveMind down for all of us. This is fun.
Anytime.
Thanks, Matt. See you soon.
See you.
Awesome. And to end all of this brainy talk, We are gonna play a little game, Aisha. I know
Oh,
this
are
is the
we?
one part. This is the one part I didn't prepare you for. But essentially, the game's called Slopper Genius. We're gonna go through a series of images that can be random, that can be from a specific brand, could be AI generated, or could be slightly edited. So let's see you guessing that. How does that sound? Okay. We'll keep it
Sure.
short, we'll keep it tight, and we'll go through it quickly. Okay. I know this has been quite the day. Okay. Let's see. Where did that go? Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Okay, that's your first image. Is this a real ad, a real image, or is it AI generated?
I think that's a real one.
Okay. Can you guess the brand by any? Like, it's a long shot.
Looks like Diesel.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you were quite spot on with that one. I
I
like
mean,
the.
I went to university for this.
Okay, and that's your next one. Is this AI generated or real?
That's real too.
Yeah, that was AI
I mean,
generated. I got you on that one.
really.
As much as you might or might not agree with the statement, but that was AI generated. Okay, here's your next one.
That can be. That's. I mean, the quality of the image, I cannot see it. But
That's half
it
the
can be.
trick. I have to keep my cards close to my chest
Yeah,
because
because like honestly, this one I was like, that's a bad screenshot. Like, it cannot be AI. It's not gonna make those look so bad. Uh, if this is AI generated, the brand needs to publish it because it's good. So I
yeah.
guess it's real.
No, yeah, you're right. Okay. How about this one? Now, is this a real ad from Benetton or is this AI generated?
No, Benetton will never do that.
It was real. They really
It
did
was
this ad. Yeah, it was really real.
okay.
You
Interesting.
cannot imagine the amount of crazy ads I came across while researching this
Yeah,
game.
because that probably they did it for like a Canis Lion kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't see they
yeah,
did it for an actual campaign. That's why it
yeah.
doesn't look like Benetton. They just use Benetton because I'm afraid they got the idea.
Yeah. What about this one?
This is Adobe commercial.
This is a yeah. You got it. I think your street credit is a little too high for this game. I'm making it too easy for you. What about this one?
Uh, I guess this is AI because it's difficult because like the quality. Yeah, I'm guessing this is AI.
This was also a diesel ad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
because I tried to look at the picture and I see all the little people like it looks fake from here, but probably it's
Yeah,
because of the quality of the image. So I
quality.
thought
Yeah.
AI replicated.
hmm What about this one?
Mm, mm, that
And
looks
for
like AI.
anyone watching, put your guesses in the chat too. Yeah. What about this one, Aisha?
Mm, if it's not AI, they go too much over with Photoshop. Like they exaggerate it.
This was actually this is a cop out because this wasn't an ad. It was a placement in a fashion magazine, but it was featured alongside some of the largest like
It's
fashion
horrible.
beauty.
Like
Yeah.
it's really
No.
bad
What about
ad.
this one?
That's real.
Yeah, got milk. Did you ever come across this ad? Because this was the first time I saw it. I was like,
Of
wow.
course. I'm a girl from the 90s. Yeah. Well,
What
this
about this
is
one?
I guess it's AI because it looks horrible in a way. So I hope it's AI.
It was a Benetton ad.
Sure, Benetton did that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check first.
Yeah, you gotta do a verification claim on it, but apparently it
Mm.
was real when I came across it.
I'll check on that later. What's the name of that ad?
I'll tell you that offline.
Oh, it's funny here.
What about
Okay.
this one?
That needs to be AI because like mold doesn't grow like that.
Yeah. Although a real ad, though, I don't know if the image is AI. That very well could
Yeah.
be the case. But this was
mean-
a crazy. I don't know if you know the story, but this was a beef. Pun
Yeah,
intended,
but with McDonald's.
yeah, with McDonald's and
Yeah, because McDonald's burgers don't like you can keep them for 3 years and they look the same.
yeah, exactly. I was like, this was such a like an interesting concept for the ad, right? Like flipping the frame almost on its head. So, yeah. Okay. I think this is the last one, probably. What about this one?
This is real.
Yeah, this is also a Benetton ad.
Yeah, that looks like an Benetton ad.
Yeah. Okay. And we are at the end of the show. This was this was a long one, but this was fun. We almost didn't do the hot button debate that we will do in the next live stream, so stay tuned for that. But what are your thoughts, Aisha? What are your thoughts for this week? What should people take away from this?
That if you're not using AI, you are gonna be replaced by a robot. And
Come on, give me a spicier take than that. You can do better than that.
I think it's quite spicy. Like I think if you don't start using AI in a serious way,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have a job in the next 5 years. So that's for sure. And if you're a founder and you think you can replace your marketing team with AI, I'm sure you're gonna I'm sure you don't understand shit about marketing. So probably your business is gonna fail anyway. So keep thinking that. And I'm really curious about those founders. Like, honestly, who are they gonna blame for all their mistakes? That's interesting. So have some humans for that. And and there is a lot of agencies out there, especially in crypto, that they're selling a lot of vaporware. So maybe take a look to Myosin, because we're doing serious stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep following us along this journey because we're going to keep giving you a lot of updates. I mean, gosh, I was thinking about yesterday, like, look at the number of initiatives inside of Myosin. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
It is.
every single person has a workflow, an agent, something or the other. I don't know how many companies out there have that. Like, it is madness. And how well each of our systems work and how much we've been able to do, at least in the past 2 years. Just crazy.
I agree.
Awesome.
Well, we already cooked this. I need to go cook dinner,
So do I. Well, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to Chain Reactions this week. See you next week about some more spicier hot takes and more fun stuff. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.